I look at this as extreme bullshit. This guy is going to be healthy enough. This guy is going to come back and have 10, 12, 15 plus sack seasons, and he's going to be a game changer. There are bigger problems in the NBA than canceling Magic City night for the Hawks. This is insane. Do what I do and go to Magic City. My self-control in there is negative. For Marcel, he needs to continue to develop as a passer, develop with this OC, develop with his receivers, and we will be better this year because of it. I hate when people say, oh, we got this new quarterback coming in, or we need to play the backup. Shut the hell up. Support a guy the way you guys supported me. USA Hockey, both men's and women's. Take the political stuff out of it. I'm a proud American. I'm proud of the people who represent our country the right way. Jack Hughes, Clayton Keller, all the boys that are on that team for USA Hockey. Yeah. Yes.
We're living in the good old days. Take a look around. Ain't it funny how feels like we're in the good old days. Go and grab a cup. Go and fill it up.
Welcome to Glory Days, presented to you always by PrizePicks, with NFL free agency in full swing and a lot on my mind, and I think a lot in the sports world when it comes to Maxx Crosby, the trade debacle, my former teammate Mike Evans to the 49ers, and quarterbacks finding new homes. I figured it'd be great to do another solo pod for you all. You guys have been liking these. I've been appreciating the feedback in the streets, kind of, the people who regularly listen to the show, who are tapped into us and what we're doing. I guess something that I could say first and foremost is at Glory Days, we are very much so in a transition period. We are closing up this season. We are excited to bring you guys more content. We are excited to bring you some different things and some different ideas that we've had as this show has progressed. We've gone through times where I think it's been really good, and there's been times where it's been a little inconsistent on my part. So for me, and just relaying messages to you guys and always staying tapped in with our fans, I think you have a lot to look forward to coming up. I think we have an unbelievable amount of guests that'll be coming out over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months. There's a lot going on in the world, a lot of craziness, not just in sports, but in life and everywhere too. I think I just like to remind people, take care of your mental health, stay safe in a world out here that's getting crazier by the day, and make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're doing things that you need to for yourself to be the best version of yourself that you can be. I know that's an area that I'm at in my life, and constantly, regularly doing things to make sure I'm good. So, from me to you, that's where we stand as a podcast, and that's where, we look forward to giving you guys more of what you've been, looking for. Let's start with a friend of mine who's been on the pod, who has taken over kind of the sports world, had everybody buzzing, everybody talking about this move. The Ravens send 2 firsts to the Raiders for Crosby, 14th overall in this year's draft. Crosby coming off of MCL surgery in January. His doctor has said he's ahead of schedule. The Ravens doctor said he failed their physical, but no player is passing a physical a month and a half after knee surgery. The Ravens have done this 4 other times in recent memory, backing out of a trade due to, not looking at it on their side that this guy will be healthy. I think if we know anything about Maxx Crosby and anything about what he stands for, who he is, by the way, Max, congratulations, brother, 6 years sober. It's changed your life for the better. What an amazing story you are. What an amazing friend you've been to me. I look at this as, extreme bullshit in the sense that this guy is going to be healthy enough. This guy is going to come back and have 10, 12, 15 plus sack seasons. And he's going to be a game changer. Now he's going to be a game changer, not for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, but back in Las Vegas, which I think we all can agree that we want to see Max go to the playoffs, play in meaningful games.
For me, I've had individual success. I've overcome a lot of odds and done a lot of great things. But I've made the playoffs one time in 6 years. That's all. Like, you could have all the fucking individual accolades, but it doesn't, you know how it is. I can't, I fucking struggle to sleep at night thinking about, like, I got to watch these other motherfuckers in the playoffs, and, like, I should be fucking out there.
Yeah.
I want to be freezing cold in fucking Buffalo or wherever we're at playing. Like, that's what I think about all the time. So, like, that's when it comes to, like, leadership, and I know I'm doing the right things. I know it hasn't gone exactly the way it's how I've pictured it, and being in the playoffs every year, things like that. But I think that's just part of my journey, and that's just my life. Like, I know, you know, it's hard, but I feel like my purpose is bigger, and I feel like it's going to mean even that much more when we do win.
But from a different point of view, if you're a Ravens player right now, how do you trust DaCosta after the crazy kind of year you're coming off of? New coaching staff, obviously bought into Lamar and what he's doing, but he comes out and says he felt worse than anyone, you know, that this trade didn't work itself out. Now, you know, they have to pivot. They were all in on this trade until they saw how slow the market was on Trey Hendrickson and decided, you know, fuck it. Let's keep our picks and take the cheaper option. I know there were a lot of people out there who spoke about maybe that being too high of a price tag when you have to give Max another contract and keep him happy. But the league is really about a couple things. It's about your quarterback play, and it's about if you can rush the passer and create chaos on the defensive line and defensive front of the ball. We look at great pass rushers around the league right now. We look at what Aaron Donald did over the past years. We look at what Myles Garrett has done this year, what numerous guys throughout the past have done when you have a disruptive player who plays as hard as Maxx Crosby does. To me, obviously, the Ravens are getting another great player in that position, and they wanted to try and maybe pair these guys up. But to Max, to everybody in the situation, you know, keep your head up, let things play themselves out. And I think good things will happen for you guys. And I think good things will happen for the Ravens as well, no matter how weird this kind of looks. But, you know, I think it did have a huge ripple effect around the media space, around, you know, what guys were saying. I know you probably look from a, you know, Joe Burrow and, you know, the quarterback side of this in the AFC North, and you're kind of like, whoa, thank God this guy didn't come back into our division, because he's a beast. He's going to continue to play for many more years, and he's going to be a problem everywhere. If I'm any other team in the NFL right now, I feel like you're treading lightly to make moves with the Ravens for many years to come. So where does this leave the Raiders and their GM and their team, who are undoubtedly in a rebuild and just spent a great amount of money in free agency? You know, I think it starts with one, you have to get your quarterback. You have to get somebody to get the ball to these playmakers that they have on offense. You look at, you know, the tight end position, you look at the running back position, and you have young guys who are absolute playmakers. So I believe the Raiders will continue to make a better push. It just takes time for a rebuild, and takes time for people to really get to the top of their potential and have a coaching staff that comes in and really develops these guys, because I think that's what it's all about, you know. And to go back to the Crosby stuff, you know, he tweets out, everything happens for a reason. Believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. I'm a Raider. I'm back. Run that shit. He's pissed off, looking to prove a lot of people wrong about his health, his durability, and the year to come, whatever that might be. And I think for Max, that's a great mindset to have.
Everyone's saying it. Every other day I got a new team making a graphic about Maxx Crosby's going to the Washington. He's going this. And then you start seeing that shit. You're like, damn, like, am I tripping? Like, should I, you know what I mean? You have that thought in the back of your head, but I'm like, it just goes back to the same thing. Like, I'm a fucking Raider. Like, I know this shit is hard, and I know the fucking hard days are fucking hard, but it's going to mean that much more when we win. And like guys like Aaron Donald, it took him 9 years to get that Super Bowl ring. In the biggest fucking moment, he was more than ready, and he goes out there and helps his team get a win. Like, that's how I see it. And I just, like, no matter what, if I went to some really good team and contender and like went and win a Super Bowl, like, that would be the greatest thing ever. But like, in the back of my head, I'd be like, I feel like it just wouldn't feel the same if I did it on another team. So that's why, like, Kobe, MJ, guys like that, those are the guys that are my icons and dudes that I aspire to be like. I want to be here and win here.
It had to be a little bit of a weird position. As you look at the Raiders additions before the news broke, Tyler Linderbaum, a great center, 3 years, $81 million. Kwity Paye, 3 years, $48 million. Quay Walker, 3 years, $40 million. Dean, the other linebacker, 3 years, $36 million. Jalen Naylor, 3 years, $35 million, and a kicker on a 1-year deal. You know, they retain Eric Stokes, Malcolm Kuntze, Thomas Booker, Jordan Meredith, Will Putnam, Charles Snowden, Tristan McCollum. I think these are all guys that they want to have back on this roster and guys that they feel like they can build something. PrizePicks is America's #1 sports picks app. The app is really easy to use. Just pick more or less on 2+ players to make a lineup, and that's it. They're now available in most states, so you do not miss out. Go check and see if your state is available on PrizePicks because they are amazing. Football may be over, but basketball season is heating up and tourney time is right around the corner. Let's see if these guys can make some free throws when it really comes down to it. All you got to do is use code Johnny and get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5. That's PrizePicks using code JOHNNY. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. I think the NBA is in a weird flux right now where the bottom couple teams, they can't cover. They don't play hard. They are tanking. And it's just like every night you go check scores and the Nets lose by 40 points. They give up 140 points. So there are bigger problems in the NBA than canceling Magic City night for the Hawks. This is insane. What do guys do after games? What do these young rookies do that get millions of dollars and they're hanging around the OGs? And you hear the stories from all the podcasts around in the NBA space. People go to Atlanta, they play the Hawks, they probably kick their ass, and then they go to Magic City. Lou Will, lemon pepper wings, the rap scene, the culture of what the NBA is. To anybody out there who's soft on this idea, I think this is something new, fuck off. All the way off. Magic City, Juju, everybody there, they're great people. They are people of Atlanta. They do a bunch of amazing things. Yes, it is a strip club. Yes, it may be not family friendly, but neither is guys bringing guns into the locker room or jumping into the stands and kicking the shit out of some fans or a lot of other things that goes on in the NBA. Not everything is going to be that way. So if you can, go buy a Magic City hoodie. Go support. Go in there, have a good time. If you're from out of town and you want to go have a good time and you want to eat some wings, you want to see some strippers, and you want to have a fucking great time, do what I do and go to Magic City. Strip clubs are fun. I've been in them forever. Should I go as much? Probably not. My self-control in there is negative, but just to juju everybody in Magic City. Love you guys. It always has been love. I always appreciate all the things that you guys do for me, and hopefully people still come out and support anyway. I've been going back and reading your comments and seeing, every episode that we drop, what you guys have to say about it. Last week we released an amazing episode with Marcel Reed. Our Glory Days fans really seem to respond to it, and I'd like to take some time to answer some of the questions you posted in the comments coming off that episode. This one is from Ag's Tailgate 5041. Any thoughts about whether Collin Klein's pursuit of a head coaching job hindered the game planning for the last 2 games? Felt like Klein didn't do a great job of helping Marcel and the offense. Against Texas, he kept calling things in the middle of the field when Texas was playing to take away the middle and giving up the outside. Miami had a great D, but could, give things up in the passing game with the running back in the passing game, and we didn't really exploit it. As you look at the end of Texas A&M's season last year, is it a disappointment? Absolutely. You win a lot of games. You stumble in your last 3 games. You lose your last couple, and, it doesn't end the way you want it to. And you get bounced in the first round of the playoffs when you've done so much to get there. Look, this isn't all on Collin Klein. This isn't all on Marcel. This is a team effort. It takes a team effort to do what you need to and go out and win football games on a Saturday. In the Texas game, it's very easy to say, oh, we should have thrown outside and we should have stayed away from the middle. But these guys are watching film every week. They go into this with a game plan. They don't go into it with a game plan to lose the game, especially our biggest rivalry game that's been back for a couple years. That doesn't make any sense. It's very easy to say versus Miami, we should get the running backs more involved. What are you doing? You sideline coaches and you sideline fans who don't put trust in Elko, don't put trust in our coaches. You weren't saying that versus the Notre Dame game. You weren't saying that as we were running deep overs and hitting them on a dot and taking it up the sideline. You weren't saying that. Texas has a good defense. You get your ass out there and start getting chased around by these guys. Early in the game, we take away Marcel Reed's ability to really run it because he has an injury scare. I don't know if you guys were even at the game or maybe you were watching at home, but a really chilly, windy night, in Austin. That's really hard. You have really two ways, right? You're throwing into the wind and you're throwing downwind. Well, downwind is completely different than throwing into it. I like pushing the ball downfield into the wind because if you throw a good ball, the ball cuts through the wind. As you get throwing downwind, the ball will float and kind of, if you get your nose of the ball up, it takes off and it's very easy to overthrow receivers. Is that an excuse? No, you deal with the elements. But with that being said, it is harder to drive fade balls outside into the numbers in a bucket when it's like that. You have an injury scare. You don't run the ball very well. I believe we still didn't have our best running back on our team that was back until the Miami game. We had an ever-shifting, ever-evolving, kind of door of running backs and some injuries here and there. I think for Marcel, he needs to continue to develop as a passer. He needs to, like we spoke about last week on the pod, develop with this OC, develop with his receivers, and we will be better this year because of it. For me, I switched OCs from first year to second year. You've switched. Is this your second time you switched?
Yeah.
Hopefully, as you've had so much success in the offense that you were in last year, to be able to keep some continuity of him being able to come in and be like, you know what, I've studied what you're good at. I studied what you do. I'm going to find a way to put that in his own terms.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. Just kind of going over things with him. We got a little bit of new things, kind of going in. So, like I said, we're trying to get a baseline for that, and just kind of make things a little bit easier on everybody else.
I hate when people say, oh, we got this new quarterback coming in, or we need to play the backup. Shut the hell up. Support a guy the way you guys supported me. You didn't go and support Jameel Showers or Matt Jokel or even Matt Davis, the highly loved 5-star recruit. You supported me. You trust me with the rock and me with the ball to lead our program to where we wanted to go. The first year, that was great success. The next year, it wasn't near as well. Marcel has done a great job of progressing as a football player, as a leader. I think if you look at what he stands for Texas A&M University, it's everything that you would want. So with that being said, I think there's a lot of different factors that explain the heartache that was Texas A&M football last season. And as they go into the offseason, I believe they'll be more determined with the transfer portal, getting people in, getting a recruiting class in, getting these guys work in the offseason. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's us Texas A&M fans want the same thing that everybody wants: a national championship, a run in the playoffs, to be in one of these big games. Look, if Indiana can do it, we can do it. I wanted to take a quick break to talk about something that's become a staple in my life. It's Lucy nicotine pouches. I've tried a lot of pouches over the years, and Lucy is just on another level. My personal go-to right now is the Lucy Breakers, especially the mint flavored. I'm pretty much mint all across the board. They've got a little flavor capsule inside, so you pop it with your teeth and it hits you with an instant burst. And the flavor actually lasts. They're soft, they're great. They're not like all these other pouches on the market that are gone in 5 minutes. It's clean, no tobacco, and the shape usually feels good. And if you want stronger options, which you guys grilled me about not having stronger options, I don't like the stronger options. I'm not trying to go get my head knocked off by 12 milligrams of Lucy. However, if you are into that, you have the option for it. Honestly, once you try them, it's tough to go back. That's why Lucy is the official nicotine pouch partner of Almost Friday. You can grab Lucy in stores nationwide or get it delivered straight to your door. Lucy is the only pouch that delivers long-lasting, on-demand flavor. Find out at a store at lucy.co/stores or get it shipped with 20% off your first order. That's lucy.co/Johnny using code Johnny. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age. Yeah, I know some of you young bucks want it. Every customer is age verified. As always, with a warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is addictive, so be careful. But check out lucy.co/Johnny. Let's get back to the show. Now, the biggest thing that I've seen in free agency was obviously a shock in the old home of Arizona. What is going on in the desert? Kyler's played his last game there. I heard rumblings about this over the last couple months. I think it's really an interesting situation to keep an eye on. Today, I feel like he's going to Minnesota. He's going to look at a home with Josh McCown, with Kevin O'Connell. Is that a good fit? Obviously, with the Cardinals paying a huge chunk of his salary and him coming to a team on a cheap option, I think it just makes the most sense. I think him potentially sucking up his pride a little bit at times and going to LA and being a backup for Stafford. Would that work? Is he going to want to be in the same quarterback room as Cliff Kingsbury again after we all know how that went the first time in Arizona? So look, this is a guy that I've been friends with, a guy that I've recruited to Texas A&M, watched his story, have been a fan of, and what's going to happen? Vikings, Steelers, Colts, is it LA? I think he just needs to get to a good system and his opportunities will arise and he'll be just fine. Arizona as a team hasn't necessarily been what they've needed to be to get to the playoffs and do things in the past couple of years. And I don't think that's all on Kyler. Does he need to play better? Change some things about his attitude, his relationships with his coaches. What does that look like? Another great story. Mike Evans, my guy, to the 49ers, 3 years, $60 million. How Tampa Bay lets this guy go, who has been the absolute staple of your football program since 2014 draft when we came in. He's won Super Bowl. He's been a 1,000-yard receiver every year for you. He's always, when healthy, an unbelievable safety blanket and leader for your team. I don't understand this move, but I guess you always want a new situation after a while. Things get somewhat stale. You do want to go take other challenges. You do want to go play for other coaching staffs and other quarterbacks. And I believe Mike sees himself as a true number one guy in San Francisco, around a great quarterback like Brock Purdy, with a great coach like Kyle Shanahan, who's going to do an amazing amount of things through scheme, through positioning, through motion to get this guy the ball. And I think that's what Mike wants as he enters the latter years of his career. Look, it's been an amazing career. It's been a Hall of Fame career. Can him and whatever happens with the rest of the offseason with the 49ers, can they get themselves to a position to go back to a championship game, to go back to a Super Bowl and do the things that they ultimately want to do after falling short a couple years ago? Tua to the Falcons. I don't know about this move as much as some people have been excited about it. I don't know if I'm very excited about the coaching hire that Atlanta made. How do you feel if you're Drake London? How do you feel if you're Kyle Pitts or if you're Bijan Robinson? I have been a firm believer in Penix. I think those guys in that locker room are as well. So to bring another guy in, I guess, look, this is a chance for Tua to get behind him, push him, help him. But for an offensive line that, got their quarterback a little bit banged up last year, to have Tua come into a situation that he's fragile at times, to say the least, is really interesting, Penix recovering from a partially torn ACL that required season-ending surgery last year. We talked to Darren Waller this year, who talked about the disconnect in Tua between his mind and allowing his body to do what it wants.
Just from me being there, like when I showed up there in training camp, I'm watching this man throw darts every practice, bro. Like, it was just like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, I'd never seen the anticipation and the accuracy out there. So it's like, I think from my standpoint, the skill set for him is still there. Well, I think like maybe some of like the disconnect comes from, like, I think there might be like some like trauma still stored like in his body from like what he's gone through, like with the head injuries and stuff. I can notice him like trying to make things happen like in the game, like he's trying to pull the trigger, but it's almost like his body and like his system won't
allow him to do it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like if there's a way for him to find some healing in that regard, I think the skill set is definitely still there, like you said.
Stefanski, first year as a coach. Is he the guy that can fix Tua? The Browns starting quarterbacks under Stefanski since he's hired Baker Mayfield, Deshaun, Jacoby, Joe Flacco, Jameis, Dylan Gabriel, DTR, PJ Walker, Case Keenum, Jeff Driscoll, Nick Mullins, Bailey Zappi, and Shador, of course. So is this the guy to fix Tua? Is this a year for Tua to come in and recreate his vibe, refine himself, and when he does get his opportunities to get on the field, hopefully make the most of them? Because I know here we're rooting for Tua. I've always been a strong believer in who he is as a person and what he stands for. Other QBs in a flux. Kirk Cousins' landing spot. Where does he go? Back to Minnesota, the Cardinals. New Cardinals coach Mike LaFleur comes from a McVay-Shanahan hive, and they obviously love them some Kirk Cousins. Malik Willis to the Dolphins, really interesting deal. You've seen enough out of him to garner a deal like this. I think it's an unbelievable opportunity for him to really get his time to shine. He's sat behind being the number 2 in Green Bay. He's got some opportunities, but, this is a guy who I think is hungry, who's a good player in college, who's really made the most of his opportunities 3 years, $67 million. Hell of a deal. Daniel Jones back with the Colts, 2 years, $88 million. What does this mean for AR? Is he going to continue to be there? Are they moving on from him? What's going to happen? I think that's really interesting for a guy who came into the league, drafted so high, hasn't had things pan out, and it's really been a struggle for him. Where is he going to get to kind of revive his career the way that Daniel Jones has in this situation with the Colts? 2 years, $88 million. That's $44 million a year. What a great deal for him. One of the most interesting things that I've seen throughout this whole, free agency, quarterback, transition, shift up, shuffle, whatever you want to call it, is Geno in a 7th-round pick and the Raiders get a 6th-rounder back in return. Jets fans are probably not loving this move as much. I've always been a huge Geno guy ever since West Virginia and Tavon Austin and Stedman Bailey and the teams that they had there. I'll always believe in Geno. Vegas wasn't the right fit for him. Maybe going back to New York, he's a guy that knows how to handle the media, handle things there. They really just need somebody capable at the quarterback position to be better than they have been. And I feel like Geno in the times has shown that he can be that guy. Another thing that I think has been really interesting in the world of sports is we entered the period of March Madness. We enter the period of NBA playoffs in the second half of the year. We have the World Baseball Classic. A lot of people were really shocked. I saw a McAfee tweet the other night that said, I put 5 racks on the U.S. team to come back and beat Italy. And he kind of got roped into that sucker bet. As a person who does a lot of gambling and is in the space a ton, you have to beware of the tricks and the trap games that you see out there. And gambling has to be super regimented. It has to be super detailed. You have to do a lot of research and talk with people every day about what things look like. So for me, I took Italy, which was against everything in my body, plus 5.5 runs, and they win the game outright. I think if you look at the roster of what the U.S. team is, you look at the rosters of other teams around the WBC, we've been in some tight games. We've won some games, and it's a really interesting thing to watch right now because of what we have coming off the USA hockey team win versus Canada. And to sit here and talk about that, which we haven't spoke about for a minute, what an unbelievable moment from our country. What an unbelievable moment for USA hockey, both men's and women's. Take the political stuff out of it. Me, I'm a proud American. I'm proud of the people who represent our country the right way. Jack Hughes, Clayton Keller, all the boys that are on that team for USA hockey. Fuck yeah. Fuck yes. And the women as well. You did your thing. Unbelievable. I got to watch that game in Canada with a ton of Canadians. Thank you guys in Toronto for that experience because it was one that I'll remember forever. To do something that we haven't done as a hockey team in years and decades was amazing. So thank you. The save, everything. What an amazing game to watch, an amazing part of sports history in USA hockey. I'm proud of you guys. I thought it was awesome. Thank you for standing on business and doing that for our country, which is already divided enough as it is. That is an opportunity for us to come together as Americans and be proud of a group of young men who represent our country in the right way, no matter what you believe. That is the truth. And it will continue to be the truth as that game is cemented in our history forever. Thank you guys for that. Thank you to the USA team that's represented us in the WBC. I've got some really good, great ideas that I've been developing over the last couple months that are finally starting to come to fruition. So be on the lookout. I'm excited to announce these things soon. I'm excited for the space that I'm going into in life. Excited to be in Nashville. Thank you for everybody in Nashville that's done so much for me over the last couple weeks. Thank you to my friends, my staff, my family, everybody that is consistently there for me. I feel like I'm in a great place and I'm really coming into my own and being the person that I want to be. It's just step by step and day by day. Continue to check in on your friends, to all my teammates that I've played with throughout the last couple years. It's been good to hear from you. Mike Evans, Ryan Swope, DeShazer Everett, Travis Labhart, all the guys that I've spoken to after the last couple weeks. It's been fun and it's been good to hear from you guys, and hopefully we can all get up together soon For the guys who are looking at other podcasts as well and always need great things that are going on in the media space, great friends of the show, Pac-Man Jones is doing an awesome job. I think Coach JB from a Netflix show keeps it real as hell, and I really love what Joe Hayden is doing with their podcast. It's fun to hear. It's fun to watch. As much as you support our guys here, support our guys out there as well. As always, Glory Days presented to you by PrizePicks. Check it out. Be on the lookout for more episodes, and much love, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your week.